Uncle Drew talking to you, talking on a microphone. You're watching the Freelancer Freak Flag Fly Festival from me, Uncle Drew. Yes, I have a microphone in my hand today, and that's because, and I have some headphones, because today I would like to give 3 tips to aspiring podcasters, voiceover artists, etc. Anybody who's out there doing voice work. The 3 things that you should know from a radio guy, from a guy who got his start in radio, public radio in the United States. These are 3 things that you should know if you're going to be doing some voiceover stuff, okay? Numero uno. For one thing, a very valuable thing is, see how I'm holding this microphone? You should always talk across the mic and not like this. You know why? Because if you talk like this, many times the aspiration of your voice, maybe you can even see the little furry things on the top of this microphone move. If you talk across, it won't pick up popping P sounds. You also have to be very careful when you do the P sound, for example. But by talking across, your breath, the actual air, is not going to bounce off the mechanisms within the microphone, creating a popping noise. So that's tip number 1. Talk across the mic. Okay. Tip number 2. Use headphones. Now, the great thing about using the headphones is that while you're doing your voiceover or your podcast or whatever, you know exactly, you're monitoring how it sounds as you're recording it, okay? So that's the great thing, is you know if something is, if there's some background noise, if there's distortion, maybe you need to take the mic back, or maybe you need to turn the level down on whatever recording device you're using. Maybe there's a short in your microphone cable. No microphone cable here, unfortunately, this time. But you will know whether your sound quality is good or not because you got the headphones on. Speaking of the headphones, okay, this is just a side note. This is not tip number 3. But sometimes it can be good to sort of have one headphone on one ear, and then you can also sort of hear the outside things that are happening. But just make sure, you have at least one earphone on your head so you hear what's going through the monitor and you're getting good sound. Tip 3. This is in post-production because I've heard this happening several times. There's a myth that if you do a voiceover, for example, or say any kind of recording, that, it doesn't sound good if there are breaths in the recording. So there are some people who would, or take out, say the in-breath before you start saying a sentence. So, for example, if I said, wanted to do some kind of advertisement or something, I would take an in-breath before I said a longer sentence, okay? And there are many people who would clip that out. Now, what I learned in public radio, from people who had been doing radio for decades, you absolutely want the breath to be in. So even if you were editing, you would make sure, like say you clipped out some sentences and you had one sentence A and sentence B, and you're putting them together. For sentence B, you want to make sure there's a breath, because that is what will make it sound natural. People take breaths when they are speaking. So please leave the breaths in. It just sounds better. I really don't understand why anybody would take out the breaths in an audio recording of someone's voice. So here we go. Talk across the mic. Use the old headphones. Know what you're getting. And number 3 tip for people doing voiceovers, doing voice work: keep the breaths. This has been Uncle Drew talking to you. Freelancer letting his freak flag fly. Could you go down here and subscribe? Maybe if you're really interested, hit the bell. You'll be informed of every time I do one of my crazy freak flag fly videos. Thanks, and catch up with you soon. Ciao.